If you want to find out just how far we've fallen from the great America of strong independent citizens we started with, start a conversation about a new political party as the solution to everything that's wrong. Those knee-jerk replies you get from the media-trained minds of Democrat and Republican Party people, they're going to tell you how easily many voters are easily fooled by media. Welcome back, my friends, to another episode of What They Don't Say. We've got 8 points here. This is a situation I've looked into and worked at for around 20 years. Inside and outside of machinations of the parties, there is a lot of discussion about a new party. There's a lot of people, mostly old people, baby boomers and older, that say, oh, you can't do that. They give 8 different myths and lies. Sometimes they use 2 or more of them, but every excuse given against a new party is based on one of these 8 myths and lies. It's the only place you're ever going to see them all recorded. This is irrefutable. In this quick video, I'm going to mention each of these 8 myths and lies and why they are wrong. Thank you for coming back to What They Don't Say, because this is definitely another example of what they don't say. Nobody's talking about this because everybody that's talking, they're either Republican or Democrat. They're not going to talk down their own party. They are not going to tell you the truth. We've been lied to. If you want to hear the radical socialist Democrats and the radical hard right Republicans say the same exact things, they're interchangeable. You can't even tell which one is talking if you mention a new party. Both camps have been trained to reject the notion, and it's party hacks who care more about maintaining party power than restoring America that is behind it. It works too. Both camps have done a great job at programming the minds of far too many otherwise intelligent people. Not dumb people that are fooled by this. When everybody is fooled by the same thing, you're used to hearing it. It makes it easy to fall into the trap. But it doesn't take very long of picking the trap apart before you can see what's really going on. The first priority of these operatives, that's the politicians and the people in the media, the Republican and Democrat operatives, media stars, is to protect the party. They don't give a shit about the nation. They want it to be better, but they're making their money pimping for a party. None of them put the nation first. If they did, they couldn't keep their jobs. They wouldn't last. They'd get someone else in there. Both parties are always adamantly opposed to starting a new party. It will cut into their voting blocks and the funding streams. It's all about the money. It always is. It's never about us. It's never about the country. They got a good thing going. Screw the nation. They're doing just fine. What if a sensible new party comes along and takes the fight in a new direction they can't deal with? They're afraid they would wind up being destroyed, just like the old parties of the past, just like they did with the Tea Party. That Tea Party blew up out of nowhere, and within 6 months, it was powerful. They could have made it a new party then. But GOP took it over with the help of Republican right-wing media. They took it over, they used it, they destroyed it, they threw it away. The Democrats are desperately in need of something like that right now, but they're so batshit crazy. I don't know. They don't have anybody they'll even listen to. But isn't it funny how both parties began as third parties, yet they're able to convince so many people now that they hold all the power, no one can ever do what they already proved could be done. They both started as new parties. They both rose to power, and now they're telling you, well, that's not even possible. You've got to be stupid to believe that. Too many people say that we're stuck with just these 2 parties we have now. I guess that's easier than doing the right thing, right? Give yourself an excuse to get out of it. But that statement proves just how little people today really know about the history of the country. It proves that the person who said it has been brainwashed. It proves the voters in both parties can become trained to forget history and stop thinking for themselves, only repeating what someone has drilled into their psyche. Media on both sides is against new parties. They tell you that. Well, why would that be? Who are they partying with? Who do they go to dinner parties with? Who are they marrying among? Who are their investments with? Of course they're going to tell you you can't have a new party. If you're going to blow up the party they're all partying at. But this statement proves that the one who said it, they've lost the American spirit, and they believe the parties possess the power Our founders taught us the people can't ever surrender to anyone. The statement demonstrates why we face the risk of losing this great nation in our own time. We almost did. The only reason we didn't is because Trump got in there. And he's only temporary. He doesn't have a party backing him. The GOP isn't serving us. Right now, we've got a lot of bad things going on. Hell, they just went on a month-long break. I mean, come on. Both parties have the media started lying to us about new parties just to keep us where we can be controlled and their wealth and their friends are protected. One thing neither party wants is us people realizing the power is ours. Their old parties are gone the day we stop supporting them. They have no power unless our votes give it to them. Here are the 8 new party myths and lies they use to keep us from claiming our own power to stop them. It's supposed to be government of the people, by the people, for the people. That's not what we've got because people have been lied to. So let's just take a quick look at it. Number 1, look at Ross Perot. He gave us Clinton. Well, of course that happened. A lot of people who are already sick of the weak Republicans, they voted for Perot. That was ill-advised. It was a dumb thing to do because Perot didn't have a real party behind him. He was a one-man show, a candidate that could afford to represent himself. He's a one-man movement. He wasn't a real party. On top of that, let's be honest, Perot was a weird little bugger with big ears, a lot of weird charts, a squeaky voice, and he came across as a goofball. Sure, he made a lot of sense on economic issues, but you couldn't get past the goofball. And he lost, and the Republicans watched Clinton slide in on less than 50% of the vote. I think he only had like 41%. If you're going to win with a new party, you have to actually present a national party. And you got to run someone that voters can look at without cracking jokes. Ross Perot, no, that was a dumb idea. Tried to tell people at the time. Number 2 of the myths and lies. Reagan said a third party was a bad idea. Yeah, he did say that. I think about 45 years ago, maybe only 40. At that time, he was right. Unfortunately, this is the early 80s, and the disastrous GOP of today, they're a pimple on the butt of the Reagan GOP. That GOP wasn't great, but the one we've got now is so much worse. Reagan left that Democrat Party because he's honest, and at that time, the GOP was still a little bit conservative. He acted on what he witnessed in his day, 45 years ago. He said he didn't leave the Democrat Party, they left him. It is foolish to think that he would now stay with the GOP that has also left him. It's left anyone that values our Constitution. Reagan was too smart and too honest to be involved with what the Republican Party has become today. The Democrat Party Reagan left was a better crew than the ruined shambles of the Republican Party we have backstabbing us and caving in. If you want to quote Reagan, at least use his words in the proper historical context instead of applying them to our mess today, 45 years later, which he never saw and was not referring to. Reagan was honest enough to leave the party that left him. We face the same choice. Are we wise enough to leave? Baby boomers have just laid on their bellies and taken it. Where did that get them? They almost lost the country. One lucky election, bringing Trump back in. We were that close. There were 2 points between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump. We were that close to losing this country because people have stayed with the GOP. The GOP hasn't turned things around. Trump did, and he did that by himself. Number 3, the third myth and lie that people use against the new party. Okay, look at Ron Paul, the libertarian. He was a libertarian, and he had to run as a Republican to win. Ron Paul had to run as a Republican because the libertarians have too many fringe ideas mainstream America will never get behind. You cannot garner widespread conservative support or widespread voter support in general while telling Christians Muslims are their legitimate equivalent. That's what the libertarians do. Oh, the Muslims are no different than the Christians. They're all equal. And then they say, well, prostitution should be legal. Drugs should be legal. All drugs. That's reality. That's what they think. And they're never going to get anywhere. The Libertarian Party peaked out a long time ago. Now that Dr. Paul's retired, it's going away. It's bleeding itself dry. Give Americans a party they can relate to on a personal level, and they will flock to it. The Libertarians have lost their way. If you talk with Libertarians, They can't even agree on what the Libertarian Party means anymore. Number 4, the fourth myth and lie. The founders said we can't split into a lot of factions and still keep America. Really? Well, that doesn't apply here. The founders assumed at least one party would actually represent voters who cared about preserving our constitutional republic. The founders also issued repeated warnings against letting two entrenched parties establish a chokehold on our system. Why doesn't anybody talk about that? Our founders told us, do not let parties stay. You got to keep flushing them out. George Washington himself said, the parties, those evil entities that seek to grow power and become government unto themselves. That's exactly what they're doing. They're government unto themselves. Who do you think they serve? Do you think they serve you? Who really thinks the founders would support two parties who are both looting our future while seating lifelong career congressmen getting extreme pensions and benefits unless they resign and become millionaire lobbyists, or they get put on a board, they become a CEO somewhere for some company they did favors for while they were in D.C.? The corruption we have today in these two parties is one faction. Where's the faction to stand against them? There isn't one. Our founders assumed that we would be smart enough to have them. Myth and lie number 5. A three-party political system would make it impossible to manage government. I don't even know where that lunacy comes from. That's just stupid. But I'm not hoping for a system with three major parties. To hell with the GOP. They left us. Let them go. It's their choice. We don't owe these parties anything. It is not our job to save them. We're going to have another video just talking about that in general. But we need to abandon the GOP and let them die off. Then take on the corruption and prosecute the crimes. The Democrats will die off too. The GOP is too befuddled to stay with. They talk about rhino. No one knows what a real Republican is anymore. There's no such thing as a rhino because they've got every blessing of the party. The American people can decide for themselves who among the Republicans, the current Republicans, is worthy of keeping around in a new party, but that should be a very small percentage. And none of the career people. Let the socialists of the GOP like Murkowski and Collins, let them go to the Democrats. Mark Meadows, that fraud. Good riddance. A new party would also provide a new home for all the good people who were Reagan-style Democrats, but now see through the GOP and won't have any part of them. I don't blame any disillusioned Democrats for not switching parties right now. I mean, seriously, if you're a Democrat and you hate the party, and I know some of those people, they can't believe what has happened, but they look over at the Republicans and they see all the people saying, oh my gosh, they're spineless, they're backstabbers. Who is going to look over there and say, hey, where do I sign up? No, there's nothing alluring. And don't forget, too, half of America doesn't even vote, and a lot of those people don't because they don't trust either party. A new party would lose some old moderate Republicans. They gain a lot more by providing the nation with a common sense of real representation and not scarred by the baggage of the GOP track record. Myth and lie number 6. A new party that threatens the GOP would automatically put Democrats in full control of everything. I've heard that stupid concept so many times. It's like, really? Then why aren't all the mainstream liberal socialist freaks screaming daily about how we need a new party? Come on, think about it. Democrats infiltrated everything from the entertainment industry to the school system, science labs, everything else. They've infiltrated the Republican Party. They have put their people in where they can. We all know that there's some real lefty Republicans, and they're sitting in Congress. They're sitting in governor seats. So you think that the Democrats would think of everything else and not realize that they could have all the power if they just tricked people into starting a new party? They would have done it if it worked. They thought everything else. They aren't screaming about how the GOP should be shut down. They know the GOP. They know how to beat them. If Trump hadn't stepped up, they already had it done. They're not going to throw away somebody they learned how to beat and they've already infiltrated. But they don't want to face a new challenge when they see the utopian dreams still within reach. They still believe they can do it. They've got globalist assistance now. They want to have the Republican Party be the opposition. They know they've got a problem with Trump, but they always play the long game. They always have. They want the Republican Party to remain in place because they've already learned how to beat them. They already have them infiltrated. The GOP spent 20 years eating their own, probably more. Don't forget how strong the Tea Party got in months. Myth and lie number 7. The old parties have too much power and can crush any new third party. Well, if you believe that, then you've already lost everything it means to be an American. I suggest that you read the beginning of the Declaration of Independence, or maybe our Constitution. The people are mentioned many times. Political parties are never mentioned once. Our founders hated parties so much. They were afraid of the power that they would steal that they don't have, which is where we're at right now, because the people allow it. They never even mentioned them in any of the legal documents, none of the founding documents. We cannot become sheepish fools to be the subjects of what has been sold to us as a higher power. These people, left and right, in media, that say the parties have all the power, they are lying. We still have the power. How do you think Trump got elected in the first damn place? How do you think the Tea Party got so strong and replaced 25% of Congress? We are Americans. We are the people, and in our land there will be no higher power. Political parties have no power unless you give it to them. They are papers laying on a desk. They are documents. They are nothing. They have no power. If we give them donations, we volunteer to work in their campaigns, we give them our votes, yes, they have power. It is our power. We loan that to them. If we give our money to a new party, volunteer for the new party, find new party candidates and vote for them, the old parties have nothing. The Democrats are suffering right now. They've always had like twice as much money as Republicans laying around, right? Right now, they've got about 2/3 the money. They have lost an enormous amount of donations because the people that donate money know they can't deliver. They don't donate money when they know they can't get anything in return. This is why both old parties use scare tactics or they belittle new party ideas. The money follows where the people go. If the people were jumping behind a new party, the money will come. No one's going to pay the old party when they know the old parties can't give them anything in return. They aren't buying nothing, but the parties cannot live without our support. We always have the parties we deserve. Even now, while our nation is in an historical mess, racing toward various forms of failure and chaos, and God only knows what's coming in the next year. But people support the parties with the votes, the volunteering, and the dollars. This is insanity. It's un-American to be so sheepish. We the people are being trained to forget that we still have the greatest power and the right to back a new party whenever the old ones go bad. Like now. The 8th myth and lie is that the old parties have all the funding locked up. Of course they do. Who else are the big donors going to give it to? They're not going to give it to an empty seat. You got the Republicans, you got the Democrats. They don't have a choice. Money only flows to parties that exist. They bet on their horses. There's only 2 horses at the gate. They don't give money unless they can get something back in return. If a new party comes up and is popular with the people, you think that they're going to give money to these old wore-out parties? Hell no, they don't. The Democrats have already lost over 50% of their funding since they've been in this tailspin lately. It's a cycle. Goes back and forth. It's the old Republican-Democrat pendulum. One of them sucks for a while, the other sucks for a while. Right now, Democrats are down, Republicans are getting all the money. That's what happens. The money goes to the people that look like they're going to lead. Look how well the Tea Party did. It had money immediately. Look how much money Antifa, BLM, and the Occupy movement brought into the Dems. Millions immediately. Because they knew they were getting something for it. The donors go where they know they're going to get some action. When the people have a new party they believe in, the people are going to send them money. No matter what someone told you. It's time, my friends. America is ripe for a new party. A party of fresh ideas, real representation of our basic principles. But it's got to be geared for the age we live in. Times have changed. We got to arm ourselves for the future. We got to be left behind just like the friggin' Egyptians, the Phoenicians, the Greeks, the Romans, Mayans, Spaniards. Everyone thought that they had it nailed down, right? They didn't prepare for the future. America's not preparing for it today. The old people aren't going to do it. The young half of America has to do this. Old people don't change their mind. Old people have never saved a country. The young people have to. This planet is not kind to those who fail to prepare for changing times. And we're going to be added to that list or throw off the old parties of the past like a skin that once served us well. But we got to shed it now so we can grow. We've got to become a new nation for the future that lies before us, or we got to die with the last breath of the parties who used to be our cradle, but now they become our coffin. We cannot forget that the struggle is for our homeland, our families, our future, a life with less challenges. It's not about parties that came on after the country was founded that we weren't even supposed to keep around. If we get this right, maybe God will continue to bless this great country of ours. Thanks for listening.